Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of our podcast Beneath Your Skin. This is Gaia, crazy and pissed off about the movie, but if you people had listened to the song that opens this episode, you know why I needed to talk about the cars of La Llorona and why I dragged poor Zoe with me in this adventure that was pure madness. Hello, my dear. How are you
Hello,
doing?
I'm okay. I mean, there was some kicking and screaming to get here. I was not in the mood to watch this movie. I did not. I knew it was going to be terrible. But then you showed me that, well, showed me, you gave me that beautiful audio to listen to from your friend. And I was just like, wow, that is beautiful. I'll listen to that on repeat for a few hours rather than rewatch this movie. But yeah, no, it's worth it just for her talent. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, she's very talented and very young. So her name is Valentina, and she's a student. She's studying math.
Oh,
You can find her on Instagram. Her Instagram is Derevine, Derevine. And if you speak Italian and you want to know something about what's going on LGBT plus community in Italy, follow our other Instagram, Il Bello del Diverso. It's just for Italian speaking people because I think she keeps those two pages in Italian. But hey, if you can, go and say she deserves it, and tell her how much you loved her song, because really she is very talented and she deserves to be known. Yeah, about the movie, what can I say? First of all, what we saw on screen is not really the legend of La Llorona. La Llorona is a Mexican figure, and everyone in Mexico knows about her. And I was said, if you live in Mexico long enough, you probably will end up meeting her or hearing her. Because in truth, what this movie gets totally wrong is the way she is represented. At some point it was like watching at a banshee on screen because she began to scream. At some point she screamed, but it's not the scream that is the source of her power and the source of the fear she puts into people. It's her cry. She's a very tragic figure. It's not like is said in the movie. Mr. Montoya, one of our followers, told me the original legend. This beautiful woman didn't find her husband cheating on her with a younger woman. It was that her husband was a ranchero, so he used to travel around to buy and sell cows and any other animals that could make his ranch bigger and richer. We are talking about the Mexico of the 18th century. It wasn't that easy to travel around in that time. One day he left for work, and for months at no hand, she didn't have any news of her husband. So she fell into a delusion where she told herself that her husband abandoned her and their children and he was never going to come back. And she had lost her mind because of the pain and sorrow. One day, she took the children to the river and drowned them. But then the husband came back because he didn't leave her. He didn't leave his family. But when he came back, he found out what happened. In a moment of lucidity, she killed herself. She threw herself in the same river where she killed her children. And then she arrived at the gates of heaven, but angels told her, "You cannot enter here until you find back your children." And that was impossible because children were innocent and they were probably already in heaven. So she was banned from heaven and condemned to walk earth until the end of times, looking for those children she will never get back. And that's how tragic La Llorona really is. And people who claims they saw her, they speak about her cries. so full of sorrow and pain. And because it's a young woman who is crying like that, it breaks your heart, but it also fills you with terror because it gives you a glimpse of what could happen to any woman who loses her children. So I think Hollywood once again got it all wrong.
It's just such a dull film. The thing is, I didn't know much about the original kind of story. I learned most of it from you when you told me what it was the first time we were discussing it, and deciding because it wasn't demonic possession, we weren't going to cover it, but we thought it's part of the Conjuring saga. We might as well finish off the full thing, and then your beautiful song by Valentina was just like, it's just too good to not like share with the world. But I always thought that Rrona was meant to be this really tragic figure, like a weeping woman, like the weeping woman that you get in a lot of other kind of like mythologies and stuff, and who's like just forever crying because her heart is broken. But in this film, she just kind of was like, it's like, boo, I'm a ghost, boo, I'm a ghost, boo, I'm a ghost, ah, boo, I'm a screaming CGI ghost. And I'm like, that's not a tragic, sad woman that's meant to make you feel so sorrowful and lost in her pain that you too start to feel what she feels, so you cannot escape because you too are spiraling into depression and pain. This is just a boo your ghost thing. The film is just so bland and flat. Like, it takes forever to anything to happen, and by the time it does, you don't care. And it's just so bland that I started tidying up like my living room while I was have it on the big screen, because it's just uninspiring and bland and just not very well made, and not very, and it's not scary in the slightest.
No, no, it's flat. It doesn't give you any emotion. It doesn't give you any scare. It doesn't give you anything. Just a renewed hate for children in movies. Because not only the older boy can't follow her mother's request to stay in the car. No, of course not. But it's also understandable. I mean, he has an hero worship for his dead father, who was a cop, and his mother, took him and his younger sister on a murder scene. She caused the death of two children, taking them from the safety of their house and letting La Llorona taking them. Of course, she has no idea what she was doing, and she didn't do it on purpose. But the end result was two dead children and a very pissed off mother who basically cursed her. But this movie hold two weights and two measures for different ethnic groups. So she works as for the protection service. She's a social worker, and she has this case. This family she knows, a single mother with two children and alcohol problems. The children don't go to school for a time, so the social services are called, and she finds them locked in a closet. So she takes them because she thinks the mother has started to drink again and he's showing crazy behavior. No, the mother was just trying to protect her children because La Llorona put her marks on them. Now, for what I understood of this particular spirit, she doesn't obsess on particular children. The mother, who just has lost her children, she decided that this woman is guilty, so she deserves to feel her own pain. So she prays on La Llorona to bring her back her children and take the white woman children. Doesn't work exactly like that. But as I said, two weights and two measurements, because when La Llorona marks you, she leaves on you bruises and what it looks like cigarette burns. So, of course, as soon as the Latinos children are seen with those marks, the mother is abusing them. Let's take the children. When the same marks appear on our own children, the social services are involved, but they only send someone looking for clues in the house, and nothing else really happens. No police, no nothing, just one woman who works in the same office with the mother arriving and telling her, I'm not happy to be here, but it's my job. I have to make sure everything is fine, and that's all. Not exactly. There is only one character I like in this movie. At the end, he doesn't die,
Yay!
but he gets shot. But yeah, but at least he's still alive and he walks away on his own legs. So
There we
that's
go.
an improvement. But really, this woman who doesn't understand and doesn't know anything about Mexican culture and Mexican spirits, of course, she's scarced by the most powerful of them all. She ends up having two stupid children because the first one, okay, we can understand his behavior, but the younger one, do we want to talk about the younger one? Who is like she witnessed what just happened. Her brother was almost taken. Only the curandero stopped La Llorona from taking her brother and killing him. He puts a line of seeds from a tree that was the only witness of La Llorona killing her own children, and it said the tree of fire cried when when it saw what she was doing. She is very sensitive to the wood of say the tree, and also the seeds can trap her. So he puts a long line of seeds in front of the door, tells everyone, don't break that line. What does she do? She walks over the line of seeds because she needs to take back her doll. You couldn't wait for morning, really?
Yeah, you couldn't wait for the
Oh,
non-murdering ghost. You need your dolly that bad. I'm like, no, there's an
yeah.
evil ghost out there. Screw it. I'd rather be with all the people in the safe space. I'm like, oh, it was so like they did dodgy things just for the sake of it, rather than like I'm like, kids are not that dumb.
But at some point, I really was like, you know what? Let La Llorona take them.
Yeah,
Let La Llorona take them. Believe me.
that girl's gonna grow up a teenager and just be there like,
Who?
no, I'm not listening. I'm off doing whatever. She can't even stay behind the magical protecting seed so she doesn't die. There's no way she's
Yeah,
not going to be drinking out late at 14 in parks or something. I don't know.
yeah.
There's something about this film, and I don't know why this one in particular, of all the ones like we've watched in America, rubbed me the wrong way. Now maybe it's because I'm British, so our storytelling and our like ethics and our culture is different from America. I know we both speak the same language, but we are very different from America. So the one thing I don't get is like the worship of cop culture. Like it's just not in me. So that kind of like, yeah, you can idolize like your dad and stuff, and yeah, kids kind of play cops and robbers here a bit, but most of the time you just play robbers here. Like you don't want to be the
Mm.
cop. You want to be the cool person that's sneaking around. So, but yeah, and cops and robbers is always just about catching burglars. When you play cops and robbers, you don't pretend to have guns because we don't have guns here. You just kind of like catch them and arrest them. The most fun thing, because I play it with the kids in school, and they're the cops and I'm always the robber, and they just run around, they catch you, they put you in jail, and then it's funny because you've escaped, so they have to chase you and put you back in jail. Like, that's how cops and robbers works for me. They don't play, oh, I'm going to shoot you, bang, bang, bang. They're like, oh, I'm going to put you in prison, because that's where bad guys go. Especially if you're pretending to steal, I don't know, whatever, a crayon or something from the classroom. But so that, like, oh my God, cops are amazing. And I think, obviously, in the current climate we're in, maybe the whole, like, oh my God, cops are amazing. Oh, it's so amazing. He's so brave because his dad was a cop that he wants to sneak into crime scenes and then attract, like, crying women down alleyways. I'm like, that is not a brave thing to do. That is a dumb thing to do. Like, but what really rubbed me the wrong way is this is a Mexican legend and a Mexican supernatural tale. Why the fudge is La Llorona in LA? Like, I know she's cursed to walk the earth, but aren't if superstitions are colloquial, even if you don't believe it's real, it's still a legend. That's like, for me, it's the case of like if they suddenly made like the Ledger of Arthur, and all of a sudden the Knights of the Round Table were from Brooklyn, or something. And you're like, no, Arthur wasn't in, like, no, he was in England. He's not from America. And I'm like, it just feels like this case of like, oh, this sounds like a cool ghost idea. Let's set it in American with really white Americans and make all the like Hispanic and all the ethnic people seem really like messed up, like oh yeah, they abuse their children, oh yeah, they're alcoholics, oh they got kicked out of the church, oh they do strange non like Christian like things, and I'm just like, can we stop like digging at like all this Mexican culture and stuff? Actually, the funeral ceremony with the burning and the wafting, I thought was what the only bit that was really like beautiful and authentic. Because it was lovely to see how another culture deals with this. And it's like, how hard could it have been to set this movie in Mexico and just have it dealing? And why is it that the case was, oh, La Llorona came after these children because the family were also like ethnic, and it's just like, why did the mother have to be ethnic and an abuser? And it's just like, it's not. I mean, as someone who's mixed race in the UK and stuff, like, there's like, I don't want to see movies where like all the Indian peoples are just like crazy because of our religions and our backgrounds make us bad parents just because our parents are all slightly obsessed with good grades and like and good old smack to the bottom if your grades fall. But it doesn't like make a whole generation and a whole culture of people like, I don't know, it just kept rubbing me the wrong way. And I'm like, La Llorona is a Mexican story. Could it not have been set in Mexico? Could it not have been more honest to the original feeling of like this tragic woman like just going, oh, these children are out late when they shouldn't be? Because in Mexico and in some of these other countries, children do play out later. They do go out more by themselves because there's more of that community spirit. And it's still like, and we have that in little communities in the UK where you just like, you go out and play on the streets together, and sometimes you stay up a bit later. But obviously, in the middle of LA, in like the big old suburbans or in the city, you're not going to let your kids go out and play on the street. Although she does let her younger daughter play in the garden unsupervised with a giant uncovered pool. And I'm like, woman, cover your pool. Like, put something around it so your child doesn't just go, whoopsie, I've slipped on something, I'm now drowning. Like, why are you not watching what's essentially, I think she's about 6 or 7. You don't just, you at least keep an eye on your child. If it's raining and you have an uncovered pool and your child is 7, don't let them just go play in the garden. But yeah, but I just didn't like the way cultures were represented and all used as the lesser, while the white people were the smarter, more religious, that knew what was going on more, with them were much more like in need of saving or much more worthy of being saved from La Llorona. And I'm like, if you were going to set it in America, then the main family should have been Mexican. The main mother should have been a Mexican family, and the reason that Llorona has come up there is because she's been following the bloodline or something like that. Keep the story rooted more in its culture and historical like background, because it just is like, why? Why is a Mexican legend in LA? I know Mexico and America are next to each other, but it doesn't mean your legends cross over.
The only answer I have for your question is that sadly, in America, at least until a few years ago, people really believed that only what happened in America was worthy to be told. So everyone wanted to know what was going on in America, and they didn't even think about basing this movie in Mexico because America is better.
Boo to that. I think it would have been a much more interesting like tale if this was a Mexican family in Mexico and it was treated like there was a rash of abductions going on in the neighborhood, and someone who doesn't believe in it goes in to investigate, and then eventually their children are targeted, and therefore it's more of like, oh, is it a real person abducting children, or is it Llorona? Is it a test of my beliefs of something? There were more interesting ways to tell this story than, oh, sad white family have to best La Llorona because they're better than all the other people. The other thing that drove me crazy... Okay, so La Llorona drowns her children in this river. It's a freaking stream. It's ankle deep. So she drowned. So I can understand how she. But then they say, and then she threw herself in it and drowned. What? In 2 inches of water? How do you? Unless she lay there face down and didn't move, but your instincts would keep you from. She could. She wouldn't. How? How did she drown herself in ankle deep water?
Because in the original legend it was a real river. But I don't know why they didn't use a real river. I have no idea. Probably because they wanted to be able to shoot very closely about this woman keeping her child's head down and drawing him slowly or something like that. I don't know. They tried to be extreme even in that because
Yeah.
American effects, they try to shock you with morbid details, like, for example, this woman keeping the child's head down in very, very low amount of water. So she had to use a lot of strength to actually kill the child, and
Yeah.
it was all violent. But no, it was a mother killing a child is just extremely brutal.
Yeah.
You don't need to emphasize how brutal and how violent that is, because it's just so unnatural that it gives you the creeps already, even just talking about it.
Yeah, it was unnecessarily like graphic child death for a film that then didn't. But I feel like they did it to make La Llorona look like more of a monster. Like she didn't just have a breakdown and throw a child into a river and go, "Holy crap, what did I just do?" and then jump in and drown. She actively planned on how to kill them, which makes her a crueler figure rather than more of like this kind of sorrowful, tragic figure that was clearly like depressed and upset, and in that moment of just like, I can't take it anymore, I'm going to kill them and then I'm going to kill myself. This seemed like she was more of like a calculated monster. It's like, how dare you have an affair? I'm going to take something you love from you. I'm now going to brutally and graphically, drown our children. And then go, oh
You know,
no, I did that. I better drown in this puddle myself.
you know what? This shows how much this movie was influenced by white culture, classical white culture, because we have a similar figure, a vengeful one, in ancient Greek tragedies, Medea. Medea was a princess in a faraway land from Greece. So she met Theseus. No, not Theseus, Jason. She met Jason. She fell in love with Jason, helped Jason to defeat her own father and brother. She followed him to Greece, where he married her. But because she was a barbarian, she would never be seen as a princess in Greece, even if she
Ah,
was a princess in her own home country. So when the king offered Jason his own daughter in marriage so that he could take the throne and become king, Jason said yes. Okay, of course, I want to do that. But Jason had two children with Medea, and he was going to name those two children his heir. He wasn't going to abandon the children, just Medea. Medea was also said to be the daughter of the ancient god of sun, Helio. She was like, okay, so I betrayed my family for you. I came here, was treated like a barbarian, even if I was born a princess. And now you want to marry this woman and take my children from me so that this stranger can raise them. No, 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 no. I'm going to do something terrible to you. I'm going to hurt you, to eat you where it's really hurt. It's going to hurt you so badly you will never go back to your old self after what I'm going to do. So she killed her children, she slaughtered them, and then she left them for Jason to find. When Jason came back home and he saw his children dead, he called for the hermit to chase her and kill her. But in the meantime, the chariot of the sun god Helio came on earth and took her back home. So basically, Jason could only see Medea being carried to the sky, and he never got the revenge he so much wanted. So, but this is classical culture. This is European culture. This is Eastern culture. Medea killed her own children, knowing that was going to hurt Jason. La Llorona, no, she wasn't like that. It was a moment of madness. It was a moment she didn't realize what she was doing. And then when she did realize, when she got back her lucidity, she was like, oh my God, my children. And that's what she cries. Mi hijos, mi hijos. She's calling them. She really wants to find them again because she never meant to kill them. And that's the real difference. And that's what was basically ignored in this movie.
Yeah, it's
No, no,
just
no.
doesn't make sense. It's like, yeah, it's meant to be tragic, and this is just they just wanted a monster. They just wanted a scary monster that's going to steal your kids. And it's like,
Yes.
no, she doesn't stalk the children heavily and scream at them and stuff, and then she finds children and goes, "Come with me." No, wait a minute, you're not my children. I drown you now. It's just like, no, no. And then, yeah, and then the ending of the movie, I kind of lost it, but they fall in the pool, and somehow the pool turns into holy water, and everything's like,
Yeah, no, not really, but basically he turns the whole pool in holy water just with a, a bunch of salt and a prayer, of course, because it was already holy salt. I want to hope, otherwise
no, just put some Himalayan
you
salt in
just
there.
no, indeed, you weren't making a salad. And then, of course, the other mother broke the lines for good and allowed La Llorona back because she still wants back her children. And when she realizes what she did, she realizes that La Llorona cannot give her back her children, so she decides to help. And like always in this kind of movies, police, no one pays for the crimes they committed. And for once, my favorite character walks away alive.
Oh,
Yoo-hoo! But
yay!
it's an open ending. So, people, sooner or later, we will be cursed
Yeah.
with La Llorona too. So,
I mean, we're already cursed with Nun 2 and Crooked Man. I'm like, stop
yeah.
making spin offs out of nothing.
Yeah. At least they are going to make a third Conjuring movie with
Yeah,
the same actors playing the Warrens.
yeah,
And I was here only for them. So, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
why not?
As I say, I love the first Conjuring film. The second one, I loved most of it until it got stupid and CGI, and then everything got a bit wrong. And also, I'm from England. I know the original case. I have seen documentaries of it. I had seen the Enfield haunting, and I was like, oh, oh no, Americans, you've just taken something and gone too American with it. Although at least The Conjuring 2 had the decency to set it in England, in the house.
To make horror movies is not that easy. Even if a lot of people think it is because they give you a lot more room to breathe and a lot less rules to follow, that doesn't mean that to make horror movies is easier than making any other genre of movies. If Zoe doesn't have anything else to say,
No, not at all.
thank you for listening. And if you want to join us and let us know what you think about this movie or about what you think about Valentina's song, please drop us a line on our Twitter account or join us on our Facebook page. We are also on Tumblr and Spotify and Pinecast. Just look for Beneath Your Skin. Thank you for listening and bye bye. See you next time.
As always, Gaia, it's a pleasure, and we'll see you next time. Bye, bye.